You know that sinking feeling when you catch yourself hesitating before asking for help? That moment when you start wondering if you're becoming one of those old people everyone secretly dreads dealing with? Here's a hard truth most people won't tell you. Over 60% of seniors regularly suppress their needs because they don't want to be perceived as burdens. But what if everything we've been taught about staying out of the way after 70 is completely backwards? After observing how dozens of friends and neighbors navigated this transition, a surprising pattern emerged. The most vibrant, fulfilled seniors weren't those who made themselves smallest, but those who confidently owned their space in the world. This isn't about becoming demanding or selfish. It's about recognizing that your decades of experience have earned you the right to take up space without apology. Remember Mrs. Rodriguez from the community center? She used to apologize for existing until her grandson pointed out she'd raised 3 doctors while working night shifts. Now she runs the book club with the same no-nonsense attitude that built her family's success. The reality is our culture has done a number on us, making us believe usefulness has an expiration date, when, in truth, the game just changes. Those golden years commercials showing seniors passively enjoying sunsets, they're missing the real story. The woman who finally started her catering business at 72. The retired teacher tutoring kids via Zoom. The widower who organized the neighborhood watch. These people discovered 5 powerful shifts that transformed how they show up in the world, and none involve pretending to need less than they do. By the time we're done, you'll have concrete ways to silence that nagging burden narrative for good, starting with recognizing how much your mere presence contributes, even when you're not doing anything. Because here's what they don't put. In the retirement brochures, the people who age most joyfully aren't those with the fewest aches or the fattest bank accounts, but those who finally gave themselves permission to stop measuring their worth by productivity. Stick around and you'll discover how to reframe every apology you've ever made for inconveniencing someone into recognition of the value you bring simply by being you, plus practical strategies to help your family see it too. And just wait until you hear what happened when Mr. Thompson from the senior apartments stopped downplaying his needs. Let's just say his grandkids now fight over who gets to take him to breakfast. Let's start with the biggest mental roadblock most of us face, that sneaky voice whispering, "Don't make a fuss." Sound familiar? It's the same voice that makes you eat cold soup because you don't want to bother the waiter, or stay quiet when your joints ache because everyone has problems. But here's what my neighbor Jim realized after his hip surgery when he kept refusing help to be polite. His daughter finally snapped, "Dad, you built my treehouse with a broken wrist. Let me return the favor." That's when it hit him. Treating yourself like a burden trains others to see you that way. The first game changer? Flip the script on dependency. Think about Mrs. Chen from the senior center. She used to apologize for needing rides until someone pointed out she was the only one who remembered everyone's birthdays and showed up with homemade dumplings. Now when she asks for a lift, she jokes, "You're not driving me. You're investing in your next meal." That's not manipulation. It's recognizing that relationships aren't ledgers. The grandkids aren't tallying your requests. They're remembering the way you show up for them, whether it's with advice, a funny story, or just being their loudest cheerleader at softball games. And if you need proof, consider this. Studies show seniors who openly accept help actually strengthen family bonds, while those who never ask for anything often unintentionally create distance. The trick is to replace "I'm sorry" with "let's trade." Like retired Coach Davis, who swapped gardening tips for tech help from his neighbor's teenager. Now the kid texts him for tomato growing advice. Or my friend Lorraine, who turned her weekly grocery trip into a field trip with her granddaughter by sharing stories about each ingredient's history. "This spice saved my failed pot roast in '82. Suddenly, helping grandma became making memories, not chores. The bottom line? You've spent decades contributing. Now it's okay to let contributions flow both ways. And if anyone implies otherwise, just hit them with the same line my. Buddy Ed uses, "I've earned the right to be a little high maintenance." Do you know how many PTA meetings I survived in the 70s? Now let's tackle the second big shift, ditching the invisible senior syndrome. You know what I'm talking about, that habit of shrinking yourself to avoid rocking the boat, whether it's staying silent during family decisions or pretending you're fine with plans that don't work for you. My friend Barbara used to joke that she became a professional ghost after 70, until her grandson asked why she always disappeared during vacation planning. "Well, I didn't want to be difficult," she said. His response, "Grandma, we thought you didn't care." That's when it hit her. Treating your preferences like inconveniences doesn't make you noble. It robs people of the chance to know and include you. Here's the reality. Your opinions aren't clutter. Remember, Mr. Jackson, who sat through every family dinner silently because he assumed no one wanted to hear old stories. Then one day, his daughter-in-law begged him to settle a debate about 1970s car engines, and suddenly, he was the star of the table. Now his grandkids record his vintage rants about disco-era traffic jams for TikTok. And yes, he proudly demands royalties in the form of banana pudding. The lesson? Your life experience isn't outdated. It's a superpower. Think about it. You've navigated eras without Google Maps, social media meltdowns, or even call waiting. That's not just nostalgia. It's proof you can adapt to anything. Which brings us to the mid-script reminder. If you're finding these reframes helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Why? Because this channel is all about turning hard-earned wisdom into practical tools, like next week's video on reclaiming your senior veto power without guilt. Hint, it involves strategically deploying phrases like, "I've earned the right to say hard pass to kale smoothies." Subscribing means you won't miss these game changers. Plus, you'll join thousands of peers who are done apologizing for existing. Now back to our third confidence booster. Stop waiting for invitations. Start claiming space. Notice how Ruth from the community garden didn't ask permission to reorganize the tomato beds? She just announced, "These plants need tough love," just like my ex-husband in 76. And now everyone begs for her pruning therapy. Or take Carlos, who turned his weekly pharmacy trip into a de facto advice booth by casually mentioning his 40 years in construction. Now the staff asks him to explain their own home repair manuals. The trick? Lead with what you know, not what you think you owe. Because here's the secret no one tells you. The world isn't waiting for you to fade politely into the background. It's waiting for you to remind it why you mattered in the first place. Let's address the elephant in the room, that nagging fear. But what if they really are just tolerating me? Here's where we deploy what my neighbor Dolores calls her BS detector, honed through 50 years of teaching high school. She says if people genuinely resent helping you, they'll either vanish like socks in a dryer or start forgetting to return calls. But if they're showing up, take the hint. Like retired Sergeant Mitch, who agonized over asking his nephew to install his smart TV until the kid said, "Uncle, you taught me to change oil at 12. Let me win at something for once." Turns out, helping you lets others flex skills they're proud of. Whether it's your daughter-in-law showcasing her gourmet cooking, or your tech-savvy neighbor playing Genius Bar for seniors. This brings us to the fourth mindset flip. Treat requests as opportunities, not obligations. Think about it. When your granddaughter asks you to explain vinyl records, does it feel like a chore? Exactly. Now apply that logic in reverse. Take a page from Gloria's playbook. She allows her family to help with holiday prep by framing it as apprenticeship. You want my pie crust recipe? First, prove you can peel apples without losing a thumb. Suddenly, assisting isn't pity, it's privilege. And for those still skeptical, consider this UCLA study finding that adults who regularly assist elders report higher self-esteem. But here's the kicker. The real magic happens when you stop pre-rejecting yourself. Ever noticed how Helen at the library never whispers when requesting large print books? She just declares, "These eyeballs survived Watergate. They deserve readable fonts." And now librarians fight to track down her obscure Western novels. That's the energy we're cultivating. Because while we're worrying about being too much, the truth is, most people are terrified of becoming too little. Just ask anyone who's watched a parent fade into self-erasure. So the next time that burden guilt creeps in, hit it with this fact. Your willingness to need others isn't weakness, it's advanced-level humanity. After all, you've spent decades giving others the gift of being needed. Why rob them of that same joy now? And if all else fails, borrow my friend Lou's mantra. When his kids fuss over his safety, relax. I'm not fragile. I'm vintage. And vintage appreciates. Let's wrap this up with the most liberating shift of all. Recognizing that confidence after 70 isn't about proving your worth. It's about finally stopping the nonsense of questioning it. Think about your friend who still apologizes for needing a ride to chemo while simultaneously organizing care packages for the entire oncology ward. Or the neighbor who insists he's just a boring old man right before telling that story about outrunning a tornado in '83. We're all walking contradictions, but here's the truth. Your value isn't a pie that shrinks with every slice you take. In fact, the more space you allow yourself to occupy, the more others will realize how much they've missed your full presence. Take a cue from Rose down at the senior center. She used to pack up her art supplies early because nobody wants to see an old lady's paintings. Then one day, a teenager saw her work and blurted, "You paint like someone who's actually lived. Can you teach me that?" Now her doodles sell at the local coffee shop under the label Unfiltered Perspective, Esture 1946. That's the fifth and most powerful lesson. Your age isn't an apology, it's an authentication stamp. Every wrinkle, every ache, every back-in-my-day story is proof you've navigated a world that no longer exists, which makes you the ultimate reality check in an era of viral nonsense. So the next time you hesitate before speaking up, remember Mrs. Patel's motto, "I've survived rationing, disco, and 3 generations of parenting advice. My opinion comes pre-approved." And if you take nothing else from this, lock in this final thought. The people who love you aren't keeping score. They're not tallying your requests against your contributions. They're just grateful to have you here, exactly as you are. Now, before you go, do me a favor. Yes, this is the final call to action, delivered with zero guilt. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Not for me, but for every time you've ever downplayed your needs. Subscribe if you want. More straight talk about thriving after 70, coming soon. How to politely ignore useless advice about aging. And most importantly, leave a comment sharing your favorite "I'm done apologizing" moment. Maybe it's when you finally demanded real butter at the diner, or when you told your grandkid their new tattoo was basically your 1978 tramp stamp. Let's create a master class in unapologetic aging together. Because the world doesn't need more invisible seniors. It needs more of you. Full volume, no filters. Now go forth and be gloriously, inconveniently yourself. You've earned every bit of it.